It's not my fault that I've got no sense of direction.
Washing some trousers in the rainforest in the wrong place and then returning with a botfly larva in my leg.
When I think about my travel mistakes, I'm just not sure there are any.
Have you ever made a travel mistake? Here at Bradt, we're celebrating 50 years of independent travel publishing. In honour of that, we rounded up travel experts from several different fields for an all-round travel chat. In today's episode, we talk about travel mistakes.
You see, I don't know if you can count it as a mistake about endlessly getting lost, because it's not my fault that I've got no sense of direction. So I do get lost, and we've had, when I was travelling with George, my ex-husband, we got spectacularly lost a few times. But it was always an interesting experience afterwards. It was pretty horrible at the time.
So many of these mistakes, from the mundane of leaving my passport behind, to trying to do a U-turn in a car on a tiny mountainside road. But in truth, it's probably just not taking more time in a place to really appreciate it, rather than just hurriedly getting what I want from it.
I think, there's been very specific mistakes I've made while travelling. Once locking my boot in the car, a hire car on the way to doing a big expedition trip and very nearly missing it. Another washing some trousers in the rainforest in the wrong place and then returning with a botfly larva in my leg. But I think the biggest mistakes I tend to make, because I have absolutely no sense of direction, is either not travelling with someone else with a good sense of direction or failing to prepare properly in advance and being quite sure of where I'm going.
When I was at university, I went out to Buenos Aires in Argentina to work for 6 months. And because I wanted to backpack after the trip, I decided that I would move out there to work just with a backpack. But I was a big fan of tennis at the time. I was playing a lot of tennis, sort of socially and at university, and I decided to take my tennis racket with me. So I had this hiking backpack with all of my belongings for the next 8 to 9 months inside it, and I filled up half the backpack with my tennis racket rather than just borrowing one or buying one from someone out there. So when I came home after the trip, I returned home without a lot of my belongings. Somehow the tennis racket had still made it all of the way around South America.
My biggest travel mistake many years ago now was to hire a car at the airport in Lima. Lima was a much more chaotic city then than it is now. And to try to drive using an old map of Lima, and we ended up in the car in the middle of the most enormous market in Lima. There were ladies cooking sausages, there was all kinds of stalls, and we were in the end just surrounded by marketplace activity, unable to go forward, backwards, one way or the other.
Like life in general, if you're not making mistakes when you're travelling, then you're not really having the best possible experience. I suppose it goes all the way back to the first train trip I took in Italy, where I just couldn't work out where I was because every single station seemed to be called Sotto Passaggio. But also I get lost in a way which actually very much annoys me. I think I've got good spatial awareness, but clearly I haven't. I like it. However, I've never got permanently lost, and I think I've just been incredibly fortunate with the luck that I've had getting out of various scrapes and the people I've met.
On a minor scale, on a granular scale, it turns out that the entire world knows that steak tartare is not cooked, it's raw meat. That was a mistake.
The biggest mistake I can think of was probably when we ended up at a beautiful setting in Mexico on the border with Guatemala, and there was a family barbecue going on, there was lakes, everybody just seemed a really happy, relaxed. We pitched our tent, this is years ago, and just as everybody was clearing up from this barbecue and we were just getting ready to go to bed in our tent, a friendly woman came up to us and gave us a machete. She thought we might need it overnight. So I think that was probably the biggest mistake. That didn't feel great and we didn't get a whole lot of sleep, but it ended happily, as you can see, because years later I'm here.
When I think about my travel mistakes, I'm just not sure there are any. You know, there's always value in travel, and any traveller will tell you that sometimes the things that go really wrong are the things that you remember the best and that make a journey memorable and unforgettable. So I don't think I've ever made any travel mistakes. Is that very, very big-headed of me?
That's it for today, but do check out the other videos in this series. We appreciate each and every like and comment, and please do hit subscribe. In the meantime, here's to making even more travel mistakes.